Hello folks and welcome. Welcome to Linux for Senior. This is my second attempt over the last several years to do another project making videos. I think my last one was somewhere in the vicinity of 450 videos. My new channel, Linux for Seniors, I'm going to slow down a little bit and make these videos a little bit more lengthy and explain things a little bit better. I know a lot of folks out there may appreciate maybe short videos, 2 minutes, but in my experience, I've been watching a lot of material on YouTube that is basically other than Linux and also Linux, that when you try to cram something in 2 minutes, that just you just don't get all the information. So I do highly encourage that you subscribe so you can not only start watching this video, which will be more than 2 minutes, and you can stop it, pause it, come back tomorrow, next day, next week, whenever you have time to watch the remainder. And at the same time, you'll be having access to the rest of my videos, and my video library on my new channel is growing. I'll have all kinds of material for you moving forward. So today's video, I'm going to be talking about your file manager for this distribution, Linux Lite. So let me first give you system information using a command called Neofetch. So this is Linux Lite 6.2. It is an Xfce desktop, and you can see all the other particulars. A lot of people shy away from that box. I will try to show you a couple of fun commands that you can do with terminal, just to get you a little bit comfortable if you're brand new to Linux and the terminal box, because there's a lot of advanced things and wonderful things you can do with that box. Now, as we all know, you can install all kinds of software for Linux. There's quite a few applications and programs available for Linux in the thousands. But today's video, again, I'm going to talk about the file manager, and that file manager is Thunar. Now, Thunar is the default file manager for most Xfce distributions. This one is no exception. Some features and some Thunars may be slightly different than others, but in general, they work the same. 4.16.10 is what this one is, and more importantly, I'm going to be showing you some shortcuts, some tips along the way. Well, I'm going to be discussing files, folders, how to set different wallpaper, talking about information regarding digital photos. You can also use those as wallpaper, and generally giving you just tips and tricks on how to transfer files from one place to another, whether it's folder to folder or folder to USB stick or other internal or external hard drives. I will not try to get too deep into the weeds, and I will try to explain things the best I can, and because I don't know what the target audience is. So again, welcome to Linux for Seniors. Let me first get this over with. I'm going to go to Edit and go to Preferences and only talk about one setting, the behavior. I'm not talking about yours. I'm talking about the behavior of this file manager, how you click on things. So I have this set for the default of double click on active items. Active items are folders and files. That's what items that they're referring to. If you have single click selected after you install this distribution and you decide to switch, I'm just going to tell you that all the little maybe tips and tricks may have a different result than this right here as I move forward, mentioning some of those tips and tricks. All right, now I'm going to close that. There's more options in here. So you may or may not be aware of this, but you can double click on this imaginary bar on the top of this box. Just double click it and it goes to full screen. Double click it and it should go back to the same resized box. You can also click that if you feel more comfortable. And you can also right click in this imaginary area and resize, and then just drag your mouse to whatever size box you want. Okay, so let's get going on resizing these icons. There's a lot of reasons why you'd want to resize these icons. Maybe you're visually impaired, maybe you just like large icons. So I can walk over to the view menu and click zoom in out in normal size, or hold down the control key and hit plus, and hold down the control key and hit minus, or hold down the control key and hit plus. Let me show you a simpler method of just, if you know, most people keep their hand on their keyboard or near it, and then they're always grabbing a hold of their computer mouse. Let's face it, we use this mouse for just about anything nowadays. So I am right-handed. So on my computer mouse, as with most modern computer mice, they have a scroll wheel on the top. I am going to use that to my benefit to resize icons. And you're probably going, how can you do that? Well, I'm going to take my left hand, which is near my keyboard, and I'm going to depress the control key. My control key happens to be on the very end of my keyboard, so it's nice and convenient. I'm going to depress the control key and hold it down while scrolling up and down using my scroll wheel on my computer mouse to resize these icons to generally whatever I feel comfortable with as far as icon size. This comes in handy when you're viewing photos. Now, I'm going to go into pictures, and I have some wallpapers in here. Lots of different wallpapers and also photographs. You can also take photographs of your children, your pets, your friends, or download wallpaper off the internet and assign it to a new wallpaper. So first, let me show the resizing of icons. I'll just use this screen size. If I wanted to make this box bigger, I right-click, resize, and just enlarge it. All right, so now I have a pretty large box. But I'm going to resize these thumbnails on the fly. Instead of reaching for this click in here or holding down my holding down my control key and hitting plus plus plus, I am just going to sit there and basically hold the control key down and scroll up and down on my computer mouse until I get this to whatever comfortable size I like it. Once I have this resized, I can release the control key and they will remain in this size, and then I can scroll normally up and down. Let me make these slightly bigger using my method. Again, I'm holding down the control key and scrolling up. Once I got it to these comfortable thumbnails, I can now scroll normally. If you feel more comfortable, grab a hold of this bar on the side. And you noticed a lot of times, when you're trying to aim for that thing, you'll misclick on the inside or outside. This is a little bit more difficult to control. That's why I like the scroll wheel on my mouse to do this with. All right, with that said, I can pick any one of these things as wallpaper. So if I wanted that mushroom, I would just right-click on it and scroll down to set as wallpaper. It's the second item from the bottom. And now I have new wallpaper. It's just a mushroom. I could do this with any kind of wallpaper or any kind of photo. I have a lot of weird stuff. I'll show you that one. This guy's holding a hat with a bunch of paint coming out of it. Yeah, I've got some strange wallpaper. They're called attention getters. You click on another one. You must agree that some of these things are kind of strange. These guys are skateboarding on top of buildings. All right, with that said, let's talk about photos. Now I have some digital photos. Maybe you have some digital photos of your children or your pets or your friends or whatever it might be, or you downloaded something off the internet. You can certainly make that a wallpaper. Just right click on it, set as wallpaper. This is Crater Lake, Oregon, if you're curious. So with digital photos, a lot of times when you bring that into this file manager, you can have extra information attached to that digital photo. And if it is attached, you can right-click, hit Properties, and click Image, and it'll tell you kind of like what camera that was used and all the particulars. So this was a Nikon Coolpix 8100 or S8100. Let me find another photo that is older down here somewhere. Let's try this one here. Right-click, or I'm not sure what that one is. But more importantly, that was taken with an Apple iPhone 6 Plus. Looks like in 2017. Image size, taken, camera brand, exposure, and all the other particulars. A lot of information sometimes. Okay, so what can we do with general photos? Well, besides doing my little trick of resizing icons from dinky to very large, we can double click on this thing to open it, or if you have double click turned on, You can also open it by hitting the space bar. Okay, your choice. And you'll have some simple tools down here too. Just thought I'd let you or point this out to you. This is Shotwell. Now there's a lot of, let me click this one more time, about. So this is Shotwell, so you can also install other software as with any other Linux distribution. So if you wanted to open that with something else, then click on that, open with, and whatever you have installed. In this case, there's a GNU image manipulation program. If you're not familiar with that, that is like Photoshop. GNU image manipulation, or the other name for it is GIMP, is available also for Microsoft Windows and Macs. And again, it's like the equivalency of Photoshop. I have used this program heavily for the last several years. My previous YouTube channel, I had 450 plus videos that I used GIMP on to edit the thumbnails, for instance. I've also used it to make icons. So let's move on. So what can you do by right-clicking on a file or an image? Well, you can see all these different types of things you can do, including even sending it to your backup drives or internal hard drives or external drives. I have some, and you'll see them in here. I have cut and copy. There's also some keyboard commands that I'm going to teach you. So normally cut would be Control X and copy would be Control C, and then paste would be Control V, for instance. You could also take and move this to the trash or delete it. You can also rename that thing. So speaking of renaming, I'm going to make these a little bit smaller so I can let you see this rather quickly. Do you agree these photos are different? However, go take a look at the file names. That's 15 JPEG, 15 JPEG, 15 JPEG with something in the middle. I don't know. I'm not even sure how Microsoft will handle this, but Linux will. Linux is the type of system where uppercase and lowercase letters do matter. So this 15 JPEG and this 15 JPEG file names are different. This is lowercase JPEG, that's uppercase. This one has an extra .jpeg in it. You can now see the example between the mushroom and this waterfall. 16 JPEG, 16 JPEG. Uppercase on this one, lowercase on that one. So when you are transporting files back and forth from folder to folder, and you are trying to put the same file name into the folder that Linux, whatever Linux folder you're trying to dump it in, and it has the same name, it'll complain. So you can also rename these things. In most cases, you'll probably be changing like the 16 part instead of the extension, which is the .jpeg part. So you would put in, for an example, is if you already have this one, maybe 16-1 or 60 or 160, whatever, that kind of thing. So it's a different file name, in other words. All right, having fun with file names. So let me, now that I've showed you how to resize thumbnails, and you can do all kinds of magic with that, you can double click on these things, you can go take a look at some of the tools down here. And of course, don't forget you can install other programs. So let's go back to the home folder for a second. So you have a lot of folders in here. Now the system itself, this is root, if you're curious. This is, everything starts from root in Linux. So you have a home folder, not to overwhelm you, but there's only one user in here. This is my home folder, this guy here. My username is Linux in this case. Now I'm going to take one of these drives that I can open. Some of these drives I have formatted where I can't open without passwords and stuff, but more importantly, this one is open. So I'm going to click on the root directory of this drive. This is an internal hard drive, and let you see there are 3 users here. And they also have their own home folders and subfolders. Okay, we got that so far, right? So you can create your own folders inside of here. You can also create subfolders inside of here. There's all kinds of ways you can manipulate files. There's also hidden files in here. Every single home folder for Linux systems has hidden files and folders. Now to view hidden files and folders, you would click View under normal cases and Show Hidden Files, and of course folders. There's also a keyboard equivalent, Control H. I use that pretty heavily. And this is a very common command actually from a lot of Linux distributions. Control H shows me hidden files and folders, and also regular files and folders. So if you see a dot in front of a folder, another name that Linux uses for folders is directories. Not that that's important right now, but I'll just point to this one. This dot local is a hidden folder, and it has some subfolders. Okay. Now, I don't recommend playing around with these things unless you know what you're doing. However, there are some videos that I'm going to move in the future that I can teach you how to make a hidden folder that you can put mouse pointers into and install them, usually within 30 seconds. So stay tuned for those videos. I'll highly suggest you subscribe also for future videos. All right, with that said, we have the regular documents folder downloads, and then we have these hidden ones. We also have hidden files. Anything like a hidden file will start with a dot in front of it, or a period if you want to call it that. So what is bash history? Born Again Shell is what bash stands for. You recall when I started this video, I did this command here called Neofetch. I gave you system information. All right, inside of this terminal box, a lot of people want to shy away from this thing. They're just scared of it. If you are one of those newer folks to Linux, this has a history of whatever command that you punched in. I did this for a reason. I just wanted to let you see this. So install simple screen recorder is what I'm using for recording this video. This is a command to install that. You can also use package managers to install software. Whether it's Synaptic, whether it's other package managers, and a lot of the commands will work the same in some distributions, but not always in others. Arch distributions use different commands to install software, for instance. So where am I going with this? I just wanted to let you see that it has history on it, and that history is contained in this file. And it's done with a numerical, starting from 1 to 6. Now I'm going to add some more commands, and I'm going to have some fun at the same time, and hopefully you will too, by having some fun with dates. So I'm going to type in CAL on this distribution that's already installed. You don't have to install anything. You can do this right off the bat. And yet that's a simple calendar. And you're going to laugh and you go, oh, I got one here. Yeah, but mine can do something special. So I can either retype the word cal, or I can use the upper arrow key on my keyboard to repeat the last command I punched in, which happens to be cal. Cal, like for calendar. Then I'm going to hit the space bar once, and then I'm going to put in a month, like July, but I'm going to just use 3 letters, J-U-L. Then I'm going to hit space and put a year, 1776. For you folks born in the United States, July 4th, 1776 fell on what day of the week? Ah, good trivia. Maybe. You can go to the internet and find this information out readily, but you can do this in your terminal box in less than 2 seconds. July 4th, 1776 fell on a Thursday. Now let me show you some fun with your friends and family. Hit the upper arrow key, and I'm going to erase this and put in cal space, and then I can put in, let's say you have a friend born in January, so I can either put Jan or just the number 1. Space and the year. We'll pick 2004, for instance. January of 2004's calendar is here. If you have a friend born on, let's say the 12th, they were born on a Monday. Have some fun with your friends and family. These are just simple commands in terminal. But again, terminal can be your friend if you learn how to use it. Now I'm going to type out exit to close this screen. Now I'm going to reopen that bash history, and I want you to see the extra commands I've just performed are listed here. So it keeps a history of those commands. That's what .bash history is all about. Now I'm going to punch up Control H and Control H again. So if I were to create a hidden folder, and I'm going to put .tst1 and hit create, it will create a hidden folder. And when I get into another video in the future showing you how to actually install different mouse pointers, and there's hundreds. I have in the About section on my YouTube site, there is a link to 700 of them. But more importantly, they will be installed in a hidden folder. And normally when you install that, you just create a folder and put the theme into it, and you can usually pick the theme in a couple seconds. Just go into your menu and go to your settings and hitting mouse. And then it will be available for you in these themes. Okay, as you can see, they're just the black and white ones. I have a lot of different mouse pointers I'm going to be showing you in the future. But more importantly, this is a hidden folder. So I created .test1 just to let you see that when I hit Control H, that folder is no longer there because it is hidden. Control H, and now it's back. Now I'm going to delete it because I don't really need that folder. Be very careful what you delete in here. That's a hidden object. An object or item would be a folder or file. Now I'm going to hit Control H to close that. You can see why. If you're not comfortable with hidden folders and files, then I would not be delving in that. But if you're wanting to know how to replace this mouse pointer in the future, stay tuned for those videos. Now let's move on. I have some stuff in my Documents folder that, you know, some of these are images and some of them are PDFs. Okay, like this owl, for instance. You know, that's a PDF. I'm just hitting the space bar, folks. That's all I'm doing here. You can also double click on this if you like. That's up to you. So these PDFs, you know, you can right click and see how big they are. They're not very large, but however, let's assume that you have a USB stick here. You have lots of files, but your USB stick is small. Maybe you want to take and compress some of these files. Sure, you can do this independently by just right-clicking and hitting Create Archive and do the folder or file all by itself. Now I'm going to talk about compression here for a second. So we have file name. It normally takes on the file name if it's a single file name by itself, or sometimes it takes the name of the folder depending on what you're doing. But more importantly, the file name here, you probably don't want that. You probably want to change that to something different. I don't know, you can use an X if you like. But I want you to pay attention to this over here. The default is zip, and that's the most compatible with Microsoft, Windows, Mac, and Linux. There's other compression ratios here, like this .7z, for instance. It even has some advanced features like encryption and password protection. Just wanted to point that out. And when you're saving stuff, save it in the same folder. Okay? So .7c has other options, again, like password and encryption. And also you can split the thing. I normally never use this. But in general, I'm going to hit close. Now, let me talk about compression and also multiple selections of items or folders and files. So I could make a folder also. Let's just create one and call it test1 and just leave it there. So if you are selecting items that you are wanting to compress to put on a USB stick or even an internal or external hard drive, it doesn't matter. Normally a lot of people, when they're multiple selecting, they'll go click and they'll try to figure out how do I compress two of them at the same time into one file. Well, you could go click, hold the control key down and click, 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 and click, even the folder. I'm going to show you a little bit better method because this takes all day long. All right, so grab a hold of your mouse, click and hold, and drag a line through the items you want. I can go all the way to the folder or back it up. What if you want the rest of these? Well, if you release your mouse and start clicking on these, they'll deselect. So how would I select these and the three items down below? All right, start with dragging a line through all of these and then holding the control key and then drag a line through these three guys. Now you have selected everything in here except for that. If you still need to include that, press down on your control key and select it. I'm going to deselect it. I'm just going to compress these objects here, these files. So it doesn't matter which one you select, right click on any of these files and then create an archive. Choose your compression. I want to make this compatible with Microsoft Windows and Macs, so I'm going to choose zip. And then I'm going to not use the folder name because, as I told you earlier, when you multi-select, sometimes it takes the folder name as a default name. So I want to change that to, say, we'll just call it test 4, 5, and 6, whatever. I'm going to save the file, though, in the same location. I want to actually see it. But I could send it to other destinations, okay? But I just wanted you to see it. So with that said, it's going to be compressing all of these guys down to the file name test456 zip. So I'm waiting for the thing to get created, and here's the file. So when you double click on it, this is what it has, and you could extract that. Normally you don't want to extract compressed files you just did in the same directory because it'll complain about duplicates. So what is this stuff good for? All right, so a lot of people compress files for multiple reasons. Maybe they're running out of hard drive space. They want to reduce some of the non-system files into a zip file or a compressed file. Or they're trying to squeeze files on their limited size USB stick. Maybe you got one of those small USB sticks. All right, let's talk about transferring files into other devices. What's another device? Well, so devices are internal hard drives, external hard drives, and USB sticks for the most part. All right, what I'm going to do is resize this box. I could do it several different ways. I can try to grab a hold of the sides, or I can just right-click on this imaginary line and hit resize, and then just move the box in about like that. And then I'm going to pull it to the side. I'm going to click File and create a new window. So basically it creates two boxes. They could be any size. You can resize these if you want. The other cool thing about this is I'm going to use my resizing method that I showed earlier, again, holding the control key down and using my computer mouse to resize these icons. Okay? They don't really have an effect over here. So there are two independent boxes currently. All right, so they're currently the same though. So I'm going to leave this one with documents on this side and walk over to backup 4. Now I have two windows that are different. So the Media Linux Backup 4 is my USB stick. The keyword is media. Whatever the name of your user and whatever the name of that USB stick is. Or internal hard drive or external hard drive. Yes, I can actually transfer files into this one if I'm allowed to write to it. I'm not going to get into that in this video. But this USB stick is formatted with something that can be read on, let's say, Microsoft, Windows, and Mac. You would probably want to format that with FAT32, just as an example. If you format USB sticks with extension 4, which is a Linux native file manager, you cannot view those in the Microsoft Windows and Macs. They won't be able to see them because they're Linux partitions. So the most common one is FAT32, that you can share files between those systems. I want to say it has a 4 gigabyte single file limit, something like that. But more importantly, if you want it compatible, how is that? All right, so we are in documents over here. We are in backup over here. Now, how do I actually make copies of files from my local hard drive into this USB stick? Very simply, click, drag, and drop. All I did was transfer that test456 zip into that USB stick. I can do this with any file, any photo, folder, whatever it might be. So if I take this test1, I could dump it into here, and it made a copy from here to here. Anytime that you drag files from your local system into a device, it's a copy process. If you meant to actually physically move it, my simplest suggestion to you would be, let's take this OWL. You can use Control X or cut, and then click in here and hit paste. Then I can also drag this back over in case I changed my mind. I want a copy of it here. Here's another method of doing it using keyboard only. Highlight the folder or file that you want and hit Control, hold it down and hit the X for cut. You'll see it go slightly gray. Click in here and hit Control V. That will be a cut and paste. Cut and paste. Again, I could change my mind by dragging that back over and it'll make a copy of it instead of a cut and paste or move. You could do this to any file or folder. And by the way, you're probably wondering, what is this thing A? This is actually a text file. This text file was done with a text editor. A text editor normally does not have a spell checker. Now this is Mousepad. I use many text editors depending on the actual Linux distributions. They are different. They are different also from word processor. In this system, I believe for the Office package, this is LibreOffice. There are other packages out there. I'm just going to load LibreOffice for a second, or at least try to. Anyways, and hit About. So LibreOffice Writer is very similar to Microsoft Word. It has all the tools, bells, and whistles. It can even save file formats in Microsoft format. This is version 7.3. There are different Linux distributions out there with 7.4, just to let you know. But it's a wonderful tool for writing documents. It also has a spreadsheet application if you look through that suite. The best price for LibreOffice, it's free. I believe it's also available for Microsoft Office and Mac systems. With that said, if I bring this file into a Microsoft system and or Mac, it will have a problem with this file. Even though Linux knows this is a text file, the Microsoft does not. It will complain. Microsoft systems want extensions on their files. I'm not talking folders, files. A Mac system will interpret that as an application for the most part. So help your, if you're sending this to a friend or doing this for yourself, you may want to rename that to something like a.txt. It's not going to change the structure of this file at all in Linux. This is still Mousepad and it's still a text document. Okay. Why do people use text editors? Well, folks like myself use text editors for multiple things. I use text editors to write what they call scripts. To give you an example of one, I would write a script in a text editor to do functions that are done with rsync. Rsync is a utility which you can actually back up files to either another hard drive. Internal hard drive would be a good example of that. I would write a script for it and have it start up during my startup and actually make a copy of a certain folder to another hard drive to keep as backups. That's one example of something like that. That would be a script file. Not going to get into writing that in this video, trust me. Now, transferring files and folders. So if I want to go the other way, from backup 4 into my document folder, I'll grab this one because it's not in there. I'll just click and drag. All I'm doing is making a copy from here to here. And if I go the other way, I'm making a copy from here to there. And again, you can use the cut and paste method also. Cut, click, and paste. If you changed your mind, you didn't want to cut it, then that's fine. Drag the file back over and it'll make a copy of it. And you're done. It's that simple. All right, so keep in mind if you're compressing things, I'm going to leave this compressed file here and I'm going to close this box and I'm going to open this up on my backup USB stick just to let you see it for a second. Now, I can extract all of these that are contained inside of this compressed file, or just one or two. And you're probably going, well, don't you have to extract all of them? No, actually you don't. I'm going to pull that 16 JPEG out and drop it on my desktop. There's a picture of that mushroom. It's 16 JPEG. Now I'm going to grab a hold of this PDF and drag that on my desktop. And then I'll open both of these. It's just a printer manual, and that's obviously a mushroom. I'm going to leave the rest of the files here. So no, you don't have to uncompress all of them at the same time. Let me reopen up. First of all, let me get rid of these. I'm going to multi-select by drawing a box around these and then hitting delete to get rid of both of them. So I'm going to go back to here and go back to the new window. And then I'm going to, what folder do I want to use? Well, how about if we, what's in test one? Nothing. Good, perfect. So I'm going to drag this over to make a copy of it, and I'm going to uncompress this in my local hard drive. Keep in mind, this was now my USB stick over here. And I'm going to uncompress this inside of this folder called test one. Anytime you uncompress files, really, I just want one recommendation that I can give you is compress them inside of a folder that there's no extra files, because it makes it harder to find things when they're mixed in with a lot of files. But again, that's up to you. So what I'm going to do here is extract all of them into test one. Okay, now I have extracted all of these. I'm going to close all these boxes. And here's the zip file, and then what was inside of them were here. So if I were to drag a box, I'm clicking here, and drag a box around some of these, I'm multi-selecting. Keep in mind, I'm just multi-selecting. I'm going to hit delete. They go into my trash, and delete. I can still do this. Single files. And then stop. And then come back later and pull more of these out of here, if I wanted to. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Now, trash can. Let's talk about that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to empty my trash. Now, it's not readily visible, but you can right-click in the screen and empty your trash here. You can go to the File Manager, File, and Empty Trash here. Third item from the top. I'll do it here. Empty trash. Are you sure? Yes. I don't need those files. I'm going to leave this here. And I'm going to walk over to this screen. I'm going to walk to my internal drive. So basically, this is my trash can on this hard drive, and these are my local folders. So let's find something. There's nothing in download, so I'll move up one. And we'll use this folder. And what I'm going to do is I am going to delete this calendar. I'm going to select it and hit delete key on my keyboard. And it goes into my trash. Just wanted to let you see that. That's the reason I brought the two windows open. I could close this and just let you see it this way. It's still in my trash. I don't care how you slice this. Okay? So basically, I'm going to create that window again. Not tabs, sorry. Tabs are a little bit harder to work with. I think windows are a lot easier. So anyways, they left the same location. So we're going to go back on this one. And I was in Documents when I deleted this. So how do I do a restore? So select the item inside your trash can, right-click on it, and hit Restore. It sends it back to the location where it came from. So the system remembers where it deleted it from, and it'll put it back to where it deleted it from. So that's how you can do a quick restore. So just be aware that if you hit any other keys besides the delete key, you may be permanently deleting the file. Okay, be aware of that. If you just simply hit the delete key by itself on your keyboard, you can delete that. You can also right-click on these things and then hit delete or move to trash. That's all up to you. So there's multiple ways of manipulating files. Again, I could do the same thing with this. I have access rights to this drive. So I have a lot of stuff in this folder. So if I go to this local hard drive here, and this is my other one, it says media with this long number on it. In other words, it's an internal hard drive. As long as I have read-write access, I can transfer files. Okay. So local folder to local folder. So let me throw something in the actual download folder. So there's currently nothing in there, so I'm going to drag a document over on that side. So let's say you just downloaded this PDF and it's sitting here in your download folder. I'm going to get rid of this. And there's two ways of doing this. You downloaded this off the internet per se. It's sitting in your download folder. Let's click the home folders again. So it's sitting in here after you download it. You could technically right click and then cut it or copy it. That's all up to you. If this will make it easier for you. Or you could do it this way. I'm only going to talk about this briefly. You can create a new tab. This is now downloads, and I'm going to click this, and then I'm going to make this my Documents, and now that's downloads. Documents, downloads. So if I wanted to either cut or copy, your choice, I'll just do copy. Then I can click this in here and right click in the blank space and hit paste. Okay, so now I have the aisle here and here. If I did the cut and paste, I'll only have the aisle where I sent it to. So this is tabs. Some people find that harder to understand than making new windows. I prefer that method myself. That way I can also drag and drop. It's a lot faster. Resizing icons one more time. Hold the control key down, scroll up and down to make them dinky or very large. Your choice. Let's see, what else? With the file manager. Let's quickly walk through this. What can I do? New tabs, new window, create folders, create empty files. What those are text editor type. You can also open up terminal here. In other words, it's like clicking this box down here. My mouse is down here on the panel bar. And then I'm going to use a keyboard command to close that box, Alt F4. Just want to remember that command, Alt F4. I'm going to close this file manager, Alt F4, and then I'm going to reopen it. I'm going to resize the icons my way, using that control key on my keyboard and computer mouse to resize those to comfortable size. And you can also make screenshots. You can probably also go down in the menu here and type in SC and find the screenshot application. The screenshot application, you have three options. Active window is this box. Entire screen is this box, the wallpaper, and your panel bar. Or select a region. You'll get like a miscolor thing, and you can drag a box around what you're making screenshots of. Okay, so that's screenshot in a nutshell. Open this file manager as administrator or root, and properties, and then of course you have close all windows, close tab, and close window, control Q. Okay, you can also use Alt F4. And Alt F4 again, I'm doing that. I did that on purpose just to let you see that it all of a sudden it brings up the other one, which is log out, restart, and shutdown. Alt F4. Let's open up the file manager again and talk about some additional stuff on the menus. So you have your general cut, copy, and paste, and now you can see the shortcuts for that. Control, hold it down, and X. Control, hold it down, and C is copy, and then of course Control plus V. Then you have the simple keyboard command, move to trash, delete. Select all is Control A, and I'm going to skip over that one, and then you can also do some custom actions. Under View, you have what I made mention earlier. You can show hidden files. You can turn off your status bar and menu bar, probably not recommended, but you can. And then show hidden files or folders, Control H. And then you can arrange your items. Your items are files and folders. Again, Linux calls folders directories. Not that that's important. And you can arrange them by different types. Name, size, type, and modification dates. Ascending or descending. You have icon view, and also you have list view and compact view. Your choice. The Go, well, you know, there's a lot of people go, well, what is this good for? Well, if you have more than one hard drive, you may want to take a look at that. I have multiple hard drives plus USB sticks here. But more importantly, I just wanted to point out the Go menu. So home folder is the same thing as you clicking that. Then you have desktop, whatever is on your desktop. Okay, it's showing these icons right here. All right, so you have your trash can also here, and you also have your trash can here. So anyways, I'm not going to cover everything that's in here. Contents, I believe, goes to a website, so you have to actually click that to go read it online. If you like, I will just briefly click that and wait for the web browser to pull up. It may take a second or two. Or not. Okay, so Thunar, File Manager. Lots of different options. Manual wallpapers. Well, it all depends on what you did on the previous one, but it just brought in this wallpaper folder because that's the last thing that I used. So I'm going to click that one, or I can click my own photos of my kids, my pets, or something that you brought into whatever folder. Mine I happen to call wallpaper. You can call your folders whatever you want. Just stick them in your file manager here. You know, I clicked the web browser earlier. I'm going to close it. Anyways, so just create yourself a subfolder. Usually, probably a good idea to create it inside your pictures folder. That way, you know where your wallpapers are. But again, you can do this from any folder. Let me give you an example of that. You remember I had some photos in my documents folder. Let me close this. So if I wanted to take that mushroom, I could right-click on it and set it as wallpaper. So as you noticed, it's not sitting in my wallpaper folder. This is sitting in my documents folder. This mushroom, this photo, this wallpaper. Okay, so let's see, where are we at? I think I'm pretty much done today. So stay tuned for some videos later on for Linux Lite if you're curious about mouse pointers down the road. But I also have other Linux distros or distributions for you to look through. And I will say I would encourage that you subscribe to Linux for Seniors. And thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.